Now we are going to talk about all of these tools and where they are located in the Foundry. This video is actually going to be two parts, the first with all the tools on the top and the second with all the tools on the bottom. We're going to start with shears, and they are located directly behind the sewing machine. So this is what shears look like. They usually have some sort of plastic protective cover on them. There are a couple of ways that shears differ from a regular pair of craft scissors. The first, as you can see, is their size. They're way bigger than regular craft scissors. The next way, which is kind of an extension of their size, is the width of their blades. Shears have a much wider blade than regular craft scissors. The most definitive way you can tell the difference is this little angle right here. This angle is what makes them really nice to cut fabric with, as they kind of lay flat as they go across. It's super important that shears should only ever be used for cutting fabric. You can see they produce these really nice clean lines, but they can dull really fast when they are used to cut other materials. There is also a second type of shears called pinking shears. So the most noticeable difference between pinking shears and regular shears is in their blade pattern. So you can see pinking shears have a zigzag pattern blade. That's because they are used to finish edges. Raw or unfinished edges will continue to come more and more undone unless they are finished in some way, and pinking shears are a way that you can finish edges. You'll want to use them right on the edge, but then you just use them as regular scissors, and you can see they leave the zigzag pattern on the fabric. The zigzag cut will act in much of the same way as the zigzag stitch does and will prevent any more fraying or threads from coming undone. If you have access to a pair of these, they are often faster and easier than stitching finishing. The next tool we're going to talk about are snips. The snips are found directly below the shears. Snips are basically a tiny pair of scissors meant for cutting little threads. So they look two different ways. This is the first way they can look. You can see the angle, kind of similar to like what shears have. And the other more common type basically just look like a mini pair of scissors. They have a straight blade on this side, and their end is a little bit more pointy. To use them, we're just going to take a finished-ish project. You can see it still has all the threads attached, and we're just going to go through and cut all these little threads off. Snips are better for this than shears are because shears are only meant for fabric, and snips are smaller and allow you to get in a lot closer, and they are a lot less likely to accidentally clip and cut holes in your finished projects. Next, we're going to talk about pins and also clips. They are located on the magnet board and in front of the machine. Needles and clips are most useful for holding two pieces of fabric together. So here are two pieces. We're going to line them up so that the four corners match up, and we're going to use our pins to hold them together. So these are one kind of pins that you'll find in the Foundry and other sewing spaces. All pins have one sharp end and one end that's either flat or larger in some way. So here's our sharp end, and then the other end of this one is completely flat, as you can see. There's also ones that come with balls, ball pins, there are butterfly pins and other decorative ones you can get, but they all work the same. So how we're going to do this is we're going to line our two pieces up as well as we can, and then we're going to use the pin and push it directly through the fabric. So you can see it's hanging out both ends right now. Then we're going to fold the fabric back and push the pin back through to the side that it started on. The pins will hold your two layers pretty securely. You can see they're not budging anymore, but you'll want to use more than one pin to make sure that everything stays. The general rule of thumb is that pins should be placed about every 3 or 4 inches. So we're just going to put one in our opposite corner up here by repeating the same process that we did before. So we're going to take our pin, stick it through both layers, fold the fabric back, and stick it back through the side that it started on. The other pieces you can use for this process are called clips. So here are what clips look like. Clips are basically going to do the same thing, except instead of using the pin and sticking it through both layers, you're just going to clip around the side. You can see it's a lot faster to put them on. However, there are a lot of applications that clips don't work for. If you ever needed to pin something in the middle, clips can't be used in the middle because they have to wrap around an edge. But if you can use them, they're generally much easier and much faster. The last piece we're going to talk about in this video are needles, and needles are located in the machine pieces drawer. Here is an example of a standard length universal needle. We're going to take a closer look. All needles have a sharp end for piercing fabric and a dull end that goes into the machine. They also all have an eye, which is this little opening right here. This is what's going to hold the thread while the needle moves up and down through the fabric. Needles also have a flat end and a curved end. This is super important for putting it into the machine.